we don't like the phrase work-life balance. And I want to see the reaction. And the truth is not because, and you'll see this in a second, the last value, it's the reason is we're actually not looking for people that want this balance, but rather the people that think that this job will be a significant part of their life. There's no balance between job and life, because we want you to feel that this job is an important and meaningful part of your life.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Opus Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTech. I am very excited for this episode. Meet Micha Breakstone, the co-founder and CEO of NeuraLight.ai. Micha is a repeat entrepreneur who's founded a few great businesses. Example, chorus.ai acquired for $575 million by ZoomInfo, and a few less successful ones. He's currently the co-founder and CEO of NeuraLight.ai, a venture-backed startup on a mission to transform the lives of more than 1 billion people suffering from neurological disorders by digitizing neurological insights and care, a venture he hopes becomes his magnum opus. Micha Breakstone, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. I'm so incredibly honored to have you here. Let's talk about impact and entrepreneurship. How are you?
I'm doing well. You said to be authentic, so I'm very, very tired. I just woke up 5 minutes ago or so that's also why how I look. You also said this can be redacted, so no need to do that. I'm doing really well. Very tired. Entrepreneurs, unfortunately, sometimes have to work harder than they want to. Although I'm trying to get back in a regime of at least 6 hours a night. But I'm excited. I'm really, really happy to be doing this with you. I've read and seen the other episodes you did. I think even the choice of this 20 minutes leaders and not entrepreneurs or co-founders or whatever, I think it's such a beautiful name, and it really represents also a lot of why I chose to be an entrepreneur. So very short question,
I love it.
But long answer. Excited.
I think that you really embody, what I look for here, Micha, because you coming in here, I'm waking you up very early time for you in Austin, relocating in order to build your next company. You've helped build as a co-founder and CTO chorus.ai, one of Israel's greatest prides in the tech ecosystem, and transitioning now to creating a company that really is dealing with one of the most difficult topics that I think we can agree as humanity that are unsolved. It's probably some of the most difficult for us to comprehend and to experience. Probably every person here will understand and will connect with what you're doing in one way or another. And one thing that left me very inspired is we chatted a while back, and you mentioned very briefly that even though you had amazing successes until now, you're seeing as your magnum opus, and you're seeing as a legacy that you're going to leave in the world. And as a young entrepreneur, I am inspired by the work that you do, and I'm honored that you let me be a tiny part of the NeuraLight journey. So Micha, without further ado, tell me a little bit about how you see yourself as an entrepreneur. Who are you, Micha?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Short question,
where
right?
to start? First of all, thank you for all the very kind words. Who am I as an entrepreneur? I think I don't know how to answer that. I will say, reflecting also back on what you just said now, and I don't yet know that NeuraLight will be my magnum opus, but it is the dream that this is the legacy I leave behind. And I think it's guided by a good friend of mine gave me one of these kind of business school books a while back. I think it's called "How to Measure Your Life" or "How You'll Measure Your Life" by Clayton Christensen. It's a great book. It's a little boring, but it's a great book. In short, it's an exercise about building the KPIs for your own life. And I remember I did this. I read the book a few years back, and actually at Chorus, and I did the exercise, and I came back with these KPIs, and I'll be sharing something don't think it's private. It usually is, it could be considered private, but I think it really is. It is helpful in explaining who I am as an entrepreneur and why I chose a path so different, and basically to reinvent myself in neurology, and helping patients. Other than the fact that, of course, and I'm happy to share in a bit my own personal experience with these diseases, my family experience, but the three quote unquote KPIs of how I'll measure my life are: the first is I want to leave the world a slightly better place behind me. That's it's cliche these days, but it's actually in Hebrew you call it tikkun olam or tikkun olam porta, making the world a slightly better place. And once you have that as a decision or a KPI, it's very easy to decide what you're going to be doing next with your life. And when friends ask, like kind of mockingly or tongue in cheek, why don't you go and buy yourself a small island and retire? The answer is very clear for that. The second is, being a good family person, but also a good community person, like building a community and a strong family around me, which is really important and something I'm very happy to have done over the last couple of years, actually, ever since doing this exercise. So I guess the book may be a bit boring, but it's effective. And the third, it's interesting enough because it resonates exactly with the name of what you're doing here. It's to be an inspiring leader. I think, I do see things around myself. I've learned a lot, and I do feel I have this ability. I'm not this, highly charismatic human being, but I do think I am able to inspire people by example to do things. So I think, as I don't know how to answer who I am as an entrepreneur. I know how to answer who I am as a human being, and I'm guided by those three kind of metrics. And I hope that gives some kind of color.
Beautiful. I love it. And Micha, I invite anybody who wants to hear about the first part of your career to go into all the incredible announcements about chorus.ai and the amazing things you've done there. But here I want to focus on NeuraLight, this new journey that you've gone on. And when I think about all the different companies that inspire me, there's a handful that I really am inspired by. It turns out that a few of them you're actually an angel investor in, not surprisingly. But here we're talking about a company that's looking at neurology and looking at the 2022 in neurology. NeuraLight, what is it?
So wow, I'm trying to think of, do I do the elevator pitch? Who am I talking to? So I'll just talk, like, again, I'll use your guidance authentically. I'll say it this way. About 15 years ago, or actually longer, my first grandfather had his wife die, my grandmother die, and I remember writing a short story that began with something like, translating from Hebrew, when my grandmother died, she had to do so again and again, an innumerable number of times. Each time we had to remind my grandfather again of my grandmother's death, and each time the pain would hit him again as if it was the first time. And the reason obviously he had Alzheimer, and he didn't remember each time we had to remind him that my grandmother had passed. And the pain for that was incredible. So starting from there in this very personal experience, so neurology today, really none of these diseases have cures or drugs. And the reason is, there's many reasons. None of them are their lack of agents or lack of molecules. It's just extremely hard to develop drugs when you don't understand the pathophysiologies or the etiologies or the mechanisms. But two, very similar to chorus, you can't improve what you don't measure, right? Rather than measuring the sales call, we measure neurological disorders. Currently today, there are simply no objective or sensitive endpoints for measuring the development or the progression of neurological disorders, which basically makes it impossible to develop better cures, better drugs, and give good care. Because, how do you know if a drug is working or not when, say, 25-30% of the underlying subjects in a trial don't actually have the disease you're measuring for because of 30% misdiagnosis? How do you How do you, do that when there's a 25% inter-rater variability? So what we're developing in a nutshell is this ability to measure accurately the progression of the diseases using standard devices like a webcam, like we're using now, using hard science. Not that we've developed, really important. So if I said to anybody that I was a machine learning company, my amazing co-founder Eddie would jump up and say, "Don't tell them we're charlatans." That's what he would say, because so we do also machine learning, but we're really based in deep science, and we use signal processing, computer vision to be able to discern these micro movements in the eyes, and create a standard picture of the neurological picture in order to monitor the progression of these diseases. And rather than selling into patients and physicians to begin with, we're approaching pharma companies. We're actually have signed the initial phases with several of these, to be able to help them design and build better studies that have a much higher chances of success. I'll end in one anecdote. CNS, or central nervous system drugs, have only a 6% chance of being approved as compared to non-CNS drugs, which are more than double that rate. It shows you how hard it is to get a drug approved when you don't know what you're measuring. So I hope that's clear.
100%. Why not until now? What's been happening? Where have we been as a society? I mean, we've all seen this pain around us. You're sharing your personal experience, and thank you for sharing that. I think all of us can relate to somebody we know who's sort of losing a lot of what it means to be alive and be conscious through this disease. Myself personally, with my own grandfather. Why haven't we been spending so much effort into this?
It's a great question. I don't have the full answer, but I can say, as human beings, we tend to take care of the urgent, not the important. Alzheimer's, MS, Parkinson's are not quick killers, if killers at all. They're just, they just take 20 years to kill, to disable you, to wreak havoc on your family. But they're not like cancer that kill you in a year or something like that. So the pain is more subdued, and it's over time. Neurology, really important today, or really important to note, is the largest global cause of disability. Over 1 billion people in the world suffer from some sort of neurological disorder. Disease prevalence has more
Wow.
than doubled over the last 10 years due to aging population and so on. And the expenditures
Huh.
are insane. On Alzheimer's alone, direct expenditures in the US are, I think, $256 billion. So these numbers are
Wow.
insane, but they're slow, and the pain is more subdued, and it's not tomorrow, it's over the next 20 years. Plus, again, we don't yet understand the pathophysiologies for most of these diseases. So physicians are always biased towards understanding, like good scientists, right? Understanding what they're actually taking care of. It's very hard to try and solve something where you don't understand. It's like a black box. The brain is a black box, right? And all of these efforts have been devoted to oncology, because of it being a quicker killer, and also understanding things. I think, neurology is 50, 60, 70 years behind oncology. There's no precision medicine for neurology whatsoever. There are very few disease modifying treatments. There are no cures at all available. And I think, with aging population, with the fact that we've made so much progress on oncology, with these new abilities, exactly like NeuraLight is ushering in, of actually measuring the progression of the disease. And again, with the aging population, there's more place and openness to doing this. And I do believe this, the next decade will be neurology's decade.
Wow. Incredible. Micha, you've gotten to to lead an organization, very software focused, data focused, and working with businesses to improve the matrix, such as Chorus AI. You're now leading an organization, albeit still smaller, but I have no doubt that it'll get to the same scale with NeuraLight.
22 people,
Is
if
there
I
a
can boast. We're growing quickly, including, by the way, my first engineer, my and good friend from Chorus has joined us. That's if they're probably the hire I'm most proud of. I don't know why he's doing that
and I
to
think that
himself
says a lot
again, but
about
yeah.
going back to the question of leadership. I think that and probably that's the test that stands the test of time, right? That's the biggest validation you can get. So congratulations. And
Thank you.
but still, I'm asking you about the day to day, about the feeling, about the environment, about the progression, about the atmosphere, the culture. Is there a difference when you're working on a product such as what Chorus is and versus what NeuraLight is?
Yes, yes. So first, it's much easier to hire. All of our engineers are, I know your dad is involved at Google, so sorry, but we poach quite a bit of people from Google, and Microsoft, and as I said, Chorus. So all the people are, it's much easier to hire. People are coming not only.
He doesn't help with it. I just have to say for the record, he didn't know that. He doesn't help
Okay,
with it.
good. Redact. No, I'm joking. Look, it's easier to hire. Also, having built a few companies, what we did this time was before we started the path, we set 3 values for the company to put together the anchors culturally of the DNA, and we spent days actually distilling this into 3 values. The reason we did 3 is because both Eddie and I have a memory of birds, and we wouldn't ever remember 3. And we actually want these 3 values to be used in real life. So we every single interview, candidate, decision, we fall back to our values. The values are very, very simple. The first is we're on an urgent mission. So we're looking for people that are dedicated and passionate about actually changing the world for the better. When we interview, Eddie and I still interview every single person, both of us, every single person joining the company. I take usually the last interview, and I share the values, and I say, look, this means that we don't like the phrase work-life balance. And I want to see the reaction. And the truth is not because, and you'll see this in a second, the last value, it's the reason is we're actually not looking for people that want this balance, but rather the people that think that this job will be a significant part of their life. There's no balance between job and life, because we want you to feel that this job is an important and meaningful part of your life. So work-life harmony is fine, and I think a much better kind of phrase. But really, really important for us is I want to see if people are scared of that or not, because if they are, they're probably not the right person. Not because we work crazy hours, although sometimes we do. Anecdotally, we discovered a few weeks ago that a team of our engineers were working the entire weekend, and Eddie and I were horrified because we had not asked for that. And we thought that maybe we conveyed some state of urgency that wasn't the case, whatever. So we reached out and said, no, we really wanted to start the trials early next week, and it was too important for us. Obviously, we kind of told them, look, thank you, and we gave them a few weeks later. We organized like a Yom Kef, whatever, an external happy day, whatever for them. But more importantly, what was really important for us is that we have people that make this an integral part of their life. The third value, by the way, skipping the second, is we enjoy the ride, right? So it's kind of making sure that we have the balance, right? This is, if we don't enjoy the ride, I don't know, the path is just as important as the goal. The second value is psychological safety. Going back to Google, actually, there's an amazing project that Google ran and reported in the New York Times about the importance of psychological safety and how absolutely critical. Like Google did this amazing research and found that the top performing teams are ones where people feel vulnerable enough to know that they'll never be dismissed, that they'll always be empowered, etc. So that's a critical second value for us. And I think those values actually reflect who we are as a company, how we make decisions, who we are definitely as entrepreneurs. And by the way, recently we had Gil Shklarski, the CTO, previous CTO of Flatiron, join as a scientific co-founder. And I wrote him in a personal note. He hasn't yet received this, so hopefully this is published after, together with his swag. We've been working with him, week in, week off for the last year plus. When I wrote, there are very few people, I didn't think there were any people that could join Eddie and me as a founding team and make us better, more resilient, more robust, whatever. And you proved me wrong. But that, one of the reasons I said that is, so Gil not only is absolutely incredibly brilliant, IQ, EQ, whatever, but I visited him in New York with my life partner and our baby daughter about half a year ago. And what most impressed me was not his IQ, was not how amazingly well he understood the space, et cetera, but the fact that he didn't care about me at all. All he cared about was making sure that Veronica and Ellie were taken care of, my life partner and my daughter. The amount of empathy, and so that was like absolutely huge. So going back to your question, is there a difference? Yes, we're extremely intentional about our culture. We are looking to hire and bring in people that deeply care about this, that are motivated by the goal, and have the wherewithal to be vulnerable, which demands a lot of courage, and would never ever be negative or dismissive in any way. And also enjoy the ride. I'll end with a quick anecdote. Eddie and I often interview these amazing human beings that are extremely brilliant, like 180 IQ, whatever. But they may not be a great cultural fit. Maybe they're unhappy people or bitter or whatever. So Eddie and I are sometimes very tempted to hire them nonetheless. But we go back to the values. So the joke is between Eddie and me that sometimes we should build this daughter company called Grimasense. And never tell them that there's a real company called NeuraLight, and like 2 years later they'll come, oh, you actually have a real life office, whatever, something like that. But we obviously haven't done it.
Micha, these are the types of conversations that I leave smiling and inspired, and thankful that these types of things exist. And on a personal level, thank you for working on progressing with a problem that very few people have the drive and the understanding and the ambition to go and help solve. And I have no doubt that the team that I'm seeing in front of me is a team that is positioned to do that. And so thank you for all the great work. Thank you for the 20 minutes that you're spending here with me. I know how busy you are. I know that you were up until 3 a.m. last night, and I still woke you up early. So thank you for agreeing to do it nevertheless.
I wish it was 3 a.m. But thank you, Michael. It's been a real pleasure. Again, I love what you're doing. I've been following this for a while. I'm very grateful that you're part of our journey. And thank you for giving me this stage. It's actually an amazing way to start my day. You've helped remind me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And thank you for the thoughtful questions and for giving me this stage. I really appreciate it.
Toda raba. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye, Micha. Thank you.
Bye.